I make a sound, but yet I do not appear in front of you. I show, but never reveal all. So what does that make me? It is I, the puzzler! You know what? I'm in the mood for something a little different this time. Let's see if you can guess what I have in mind. I hold lost mysteries veiled in darkness. I run deep, but limited to a single place. Big or small, I change with time, but remain in the same space since I was born. What am I? Is there anyone out there who can answer my riddle today? That's right, it's...
The cave. That's me, the cave. Yes, I'm a talking cave. Don't laugh. It makes dating hell.
This is the first for my show, and it's really special as The Cave is an adventure platforming puzzle game that was only just released earlier this year, back in January 2013, for all the main current-gen game consoles and the PC from those fangled online services people can buy things from digitally these days. Oh, how I miss the old days of getting a physical copy of a game along with some bonus fun stuff in the manual. With this being a fairly modern game, there isn't much I can tell you about its impact on gaming, other than it has gained favourable reviews from critics, and gamers have taken a shine to this little puzzler. Upon seeing this game, I knew I wanted to give it a try. I mean, come on, I wouldn't be the puzzler if I didn't, would I? Also, it's got Maniac Mansion Monkey Island creator Ron Gilbert's name attached as both main director and co-writer, so of course I'd want him to take my money. And after so long, I finally got around to getting it on the PlayStation 3 system, and completed the game fully, so I am here to give you all my own unbiased and absolute view on this latest game. Playing as 3 of 7 protagonists, 8 if you count the twins separately, of your choice, who have been creatively named the Knight, the Hillbilly, the Time Traveler, the Scientist, the Adventurer, the Twins, and the Monk. Your chosen party enter inside what is only known as the Cave, who are each in search of something they desire, mostly to learn and find out about themselves, whilst being guided by the cave itself, that can talk. What, you can deal with 3-headed monkeys, strange fantasy creatures, and odd characters, and yet you can't handle the fact that there is a talking cave? I won't say much about the story, as it is still fairly new, but I can share with you all that this is one story that is to be experienced for yourselves, with a heavy emphasis on the theme of desire and obsession for self-gain, and it plays an integral part in each of our characters who hold quite a few dark secrets, though the cave doesn't make any secret about this himself.
Ah, the monk. He seeks his master so he can become the master. It's a journey filled with peace and enlightenment. And murder. I'm sorry.
The overall story when concerning the characters, though, is only briefly touched upon during their journey down into the depths of the cave, but you can find out their full story through finding their specific artwork that can be found within the game in the form of cave paintings that look like this and— No, that looks nothing like a penis! Get your mind out of the gutter! Oh, Anyway, it was one person who said, "One picture is worth 1,000 words." And that is no truer than here, as from the small number of artwork in the game, they say and explain so much about the characters and their motivations in such a simple and effective way that you will be intrigued in seeing what their desires are and how they all go wrong in their pursuit for what they want. Just from starting up the game, Ron Gilbert's charm immediately makes its presence known in the writing, as the dialogue is highly amusing, that you're bound to have a chuckle from the cave's musings alone, along with a few strange characters you will meet along the way. The biggest strong point in this story, though, compared to other puzzle games, is that not only is it highly amusing that it is bound to make you laugh, but it also balances quite well its dark theme that deals with death and many other atrocities caused by the characters of varied levels, and one of them may just creep you out, not mentioning or insinuating who that may well be, setting a good and immersive experience in the style of black comedy. Upon seeing the game, I immediately fell in love with the graphical style that Double Fine Productions went for, as it has a dark tone while still keeping that cartoony style which suits what this story aims to convey in its humorous way. They are not fantastic, but they are still quite well done, especially with how the labyrinth of the cave and some of its backgrounds fill you with a sense of wonder as you traverse through each scenario, and the characters are all animated really well, while the music is just right, settling you into the mood of the game's set pieces for each area you explore. But if there was one thing I disliked, I would have to say that there is a clear difference between the artwork and the 3D models that made me wish that the characters looked more like their drawing counterparts, or the entire thing was done in 2D. But that's just a trivial nitpick on my part. Another downside I should bring up is that due to the nature of the gameplay, the game is incredibly simple in how you solve puzzles, that most of them are too easy. They are not insultingly easy, but rather 9 out of 10 times, the answer is pretty obvious. And through my own experience, I only found myself stuck once or twice. Just as long as you're observant and think logically about how you can progress, you will most likely steam through this game without much problems, and the game is even worry-free, that you do not need to concern yourself about leaving items behind, as everything you will need will be in their respective areas. Now, as for the NPCs in the game, there are not many of them, and they are only there just to have a funny moment or serve as the game's way to send you off on your merry way to the next task, with the gift shop clerk being the only one who at least has more than one line of dialogue to say when you interact with him. Since this is a modern game, voice acting is a standard rather than a luxury these days, and sometimes in these modern puzzle games, the voice work can be pretty terrible, and believe me, I know a fair few with atrocious voice work. The Cave, however, does a fantastic job with the voice talent they brought in. The main characters may not talk, but the others that do play their parts well, especially the sly gift shop clerk and the cave itself, are the best of the bunch, playing off their lines with a serious delivery that is both ominous and yet comical. Being a platforming puzzle game, there is no interface or inventory box to concern yourself with. Instead, all you have to keep in mind is the main aspect of the gameplay: side-scrolling movement with jumping across dangerous gaps, interacting with people, items, objects of interest, and switching between one of your 3 party members you have chosen. That is like Maniac Mansion in a sense, which we shall cover another time on this show. But don't watch the Fellobrabers game showcase of it. Never have I seen a pair of bungling morons struggle in solving even the most simplest of puzzles. But I digress. There is no way to get more details about items or scenery, but quite frankly, it is not needed, as everything is pretty basic to figure out, from the sparse number of items that are within the areas for each scenario. One thing to know about the gameplay, when it comes to controlling the characters, is that when picking up items, the character will carry around only one item at any given time. Yes, even I am disappointed there are no magical hats or pants. Until you drop it, or you switch it for another item that would be more useful in your efforts to progressing through the cave. But like I said before, you do not need to worry about missing items, as every item you will need is in the area that you enter, so your plans will never cave in. What, 4 episodes in and still nothing? Oh, forget it. Also, another similar thing to Maniac Mansion is the concept that each character has a special ability unique to them in assisting in platforming or puzzle solving in some way. While this concept is still interesting, it sadly lacks any real usefulness in any general area that can be solved by any character except where their abilities truly shine in their character-specific scenarios, and only a couple of moments outside of them. Due to the obvious fact that this puzzle game has platforming elements, there are many spikes and gaps to avoid by jumping, and great heights to traverse down with ladders and ropes. But again, this game is very forgiving, for if any of your characters end up dead from dropping too far, or falling prey to any impalement, explosions, or poor lacks of judgment on the player's part, ends up becoming inconsequential, as the game will turn you into a white fog and send your character to the nearest place where you last were before your death, making dying in this game of little consequence. After all, the cave doesn't really want you to die on your adventures of self-discoveries. Now here is something unlike any puzzle game I have seen before this one. The cave offers for you and 1 or 2 of your friends to jump in and join in the fun of solving puzzles together. Sadly though, I only had brief experience with it, but from what I could tell, it's okay, but it's a little odd on who it wants to follow, and your characters are limited to following the character the screen is following. It's enjoyable with friends, but it's hard to argue with the convenience of having full control of the party to yourself, so you can leave characters in different areas to better regulate the tasks quicker. With such an enjoyable puzzle experience, it's hard not to feel carried away with playing through it hours on end. It's then you quickly find that a single playthrough takes only 3 to 4 hours to complete. So it's lucky this game has multiple characters to choose from to experience their stories, as this adds to the replayability so that the game can at least last a little longer, and double that just in order to get both the bad endings and the secret good endings the game has to offer for each of our protagonists. But despite its short length, the game does a fantastic job of being entertaining, with a theme that heavily keeps your interest in wanting to know what will happen to each of our silent protagonists. And the gameplay is quite enjoyable too. But sadly, if you're playing multiple playthroughs, you will most likely get bored of going through the same sections several times, with little to no change in the sections you will replay through. However, even with my critical eye, the cave is still enjoyable, and will thoroughly entertain you on both a serious and comedic level, with the constant theme of human desire and its dialogue are a perfect mix in keeping your interest through the experience, and maybe even take something away from it. The puzzles may not be too difficult, especially if you're a keen observer and have an idea what needs to be done in order to progress. You can get through the game rather quickly, with little room for worry, making it really difficult for me to choose any puzzle for the show to showcase. Except one. If one of the characters you have chosen is the scientist, then as you travel through the cave, you will undoubtedly arrive at her scenario, within a military base with a large nuclear missile in the background. Despite what you may think, you have to blast that thing out in order to progress to the next area of the game. Yes, you're doing something evil to progress. Oh, don't act so innocent! I know all of you, when playing puzzle games, steal things from people in order to win, so you have no room to judge. But as you're on your merry way, solving puzzles left and right, you will soon come to the center of today's problem. that even delayed my thought processes. As you come across a door locked by a 4-digit code. Now you can find what appears to be a code on the administrator's terminal, but this is where the problem crops up. Basically, the administrator has tons of sticky notes plastered all over their desk, that it could be any of them. But if you try inputting any one of them through guesswork, then you will be saddened to know that every failed attempt resets the code. So, blind guesswork will not be your savior here. This took me a fair while to figure out, and you all might be able to solve it in time, while others may struggle for the answer to this one. So if you still are, or will end up stuck at this point, then allow me to impart with you all my riddle for the day, so that you may be able to blast off again through this game. A thought can be used in any task, but cannot satisfy one's craving. From a word of mouth, the day you find the key will be a special day indeed. And there you have it. A riddle for what may be considered a simple puzzle, but it's there just in case you need it. It's not like the creators are going to give you the answers themselves. Oh. Well, I'll be damned. They did for another puzzle. Thanks a lot for giving away the answer, Double Fine Productions. The cave is a whole lot of fun to play, and can be considered a masterpiece in leaving a mark on you, with its art style, theme, and message it conveys. Also, the difficulty level makes it perfect for anyone to pick up and play, especially to any of you novice puzzlers out there. I highly recommend that if any of you out there are remotely interested in this little puzzler, then the game is not that hard to find, as it can be found on the PlayStation 3's PlayStation Network, Xbox 360's Xbox Live, Wii U's eShop, and Steam on PC. But it will also be coming out for the Ouya as well once that gets released. And here I thought that Gizmondo had a silly name. And with the game currently priced at £10, $15 if you're in the US, it's an acceptable price, even when considering the length of the game. And this brings us to the end of this latest puzzling adventure. However, I feel that I must ask you, my dear viewers, have you all learned anything from these puzzle games? Did you all take heed the lessons of past heroes that have waltzed through our minds to become mere memory? For it is always the heroes that do the just and right, correct? Yet our beloved heroes of puzzle adventure games past have only shown that they would lie, steal, and trick the less fortunate, just to gain that which they desire. You are no different, for you all too hold a dark place in each of your hearts. Ones that yearns to find the answers that would fill that void which is never satisfied with questions alone. So in the end, did you find the answers you longed for? Others among you may have already found the answer to those games that have plagued your childhoods, to answer those burning questions. But if you had not learned anything, or found your answers, then do not worry. You will return to the depths of my mind for the answers you desire, for I am the puzzler.